hope that people could be free from sin, and it offered no hope that people could have their sin taken away. This was the mainstream mindset of their culture for centuries. From Moses, who received the law, until John the Baptist, there was no expectation that their sacrifices could cleanse their conscience or take away their sin. They were bound to a system of sacrifice that accomplished only an outward ceremonial cleansing. Their sacrifices had no capacity to redefine their identity. Therefore, they lived with an identity crisis, falsely defined by their sin and failure, with no way out. A hopeless, lifelong cycle. A system rigged to fail, just frustrating religious activity that never cleansed their consciences. Hebrews 9:9. This is an illustration for the present time, indicating that the gifts and sacrifices being offered were not able to clear the conscience of the worshipper. Hebrews 10:3-4. But those sacrifices are an annual reminder of sins. It is impossible for the blood of bulls and goats to take away sin. So whenever you hear take away, don't think Burger King, think expiate. Here's the Lamb of God who takes away. Don't be thinking dodgy McDonald's, be thinking expiate. Take away, expiate. All right. We're going to carry on in the book of Hebrews, and they are attempting this crazy, crazy move to transition from a multi-generational mindset of propitiation to a brand new, never seen before mindset of expiation. Let's go Hebrews 7:27. Unlike the other high priests, he does not need to offer sacrifices day after day, first for his own sins and then for the sins of the people. He sacrificed for their sins once for all when he offered himself. Once for all. Say, once for all. Boom. All of a sudden, Jesus is a superior sacrifice, because thousands of years of relentless sacrificing of hundreds of thousands, millions of sacrifices did nothing, and one sacrifice made Jesus does it all. A cosmic victory over sin, woohoo, in one move. Hebrews 9:12. He did not enter by the means of blood and goats and calves, but he entered the most holy place once for all by his blood, thus obtaining eternal redemption. Hebrews 9:26. Otherwise, Christ would have had to suffer many times since the creation of the world, but he has appeared once for all at the culmination of the ages to do away with sin, or to expiate sin, or to annihilate, to say bye-bye sin. Remember, what is sin? Sin is not a rodent. Sin is an entity, but the sin is the false identities that we wear. It's to do away with the orphan illusion. That's what sin is. Sin is the orphan illusion. Sin is the false identities that we live in, and then the fruit of living in those false identities is all the dysfunctional behavior, dysfunctional emotions, dysfunctional state of being, dysfunctional relationships, the chaos that flows out from living with a false identity. But he has appeared once for all at the culmination of the ages to do away with sin by the sacrifice of himself. Hebrews 10:10-12. And by that will we have been made holy through the sacrifice of the body of Jesus Christ once for all. Day after day, every priest stands and performs his religious duties. Again and again, he offers the same sacrifices which can never take away sins. But when this high priest had offered for all time one sacrifice for sins, he sat down at the right hand of God. Hebrews 10:14. For by one sacrifice he has made perfect forever those who are being made holy. Hebrews 10:18. And where these have been forgiven, sacrifice for sin is no longer necessary. Boom. Hey, you want to know why we got so confused about this? One of the reasons we got so confused about it is 3 crazy Greek words. Say, if you can, try and repeat after me really quickly these crazy Greek words. Hilasterion, hilasmosis, hilaskomai. Those words are in your notes, so you can check them out later if you want. Hilasterion, hilasmosis, hilaskomai. Let's try and say it real quick just for fun. 1, 2, 3. Hilasterion, hilascosis, hilaskomai. I stuffed it up. There we go. Hilasmosis, hilasterion, hilaskomai. Wow, those are the words that get translated as propitiate, atonement, expiate, sometimes sacrifice. They are words, Greek words, that describe sacrifices. Now, we already know, because we're already into the start of this, but we already understand that the book of Hebrews is about a book of contrast, contrasting the old with the new, contrasting old sacrifices with the new sacrifice, contrasting the old covenant with the new. It's a book of contrast. So the book of one of the key themes of the book of Hebrews is to contrast propitiatory sacrifice, which is useless, with expiatory sacrifice, which is perfect. Interesting thing is, though, that these words hilaskomai, hilasterion, and hilasmosis can both be translated either propitiate or expiate. Oh, that's unusual, that we can have a Greek word. So you can have a Greek word with two completely opposite meanings. That could get confusing, couldn't it? Well, atonement is exactly the same. Atonement is the equivalent of the Greek words hilasterion, hilaskomai, and hilasmosis, because atonement also doesn't... You have to define what you mean when you say atonement, because atonement, within the meaning of atonement, is both propitiation or expiation. So how are we going to figure out what they mean if they use these words hilasterion, hilaskomai, hilasmosis? How are we going to figure out which one they're talking about? It's really easy. It's really easy, because it's the action that they are describing which gives definition to whether or not hilasterion, hilaskomai, hilasmosis actually mean propitiation or expiation. Okay, there's some big words that are rattled off quickly, and you're possibly like, oh, I've checked out. I'm not interested. I'm going home. Not like physically, but spiritually, just in my head right now. I've checked out. I've left the room. Right, it's all right. You can come back. You can come back. We're going to make it easy. I'll bring you back with a letter from Zach. That rhymed, so it must be perfect. You've heard this letter already, but remember, this is propitiation. So if someone used the word hilaskomai to describe this action, you would simply go, what type of action is it? Is it propitiatory or expiatory? And then you would know what they were talking about. To the best brother ever, I'm very sorry that I pinched you in the nuts. I'm so sad that I feel the pain. I know that this note won't completely make it up for you, so here's $1, all for you. I know it doesn't make the pain go away, and I can't put a Band-Aid on it. You wouldn't be able to pee. I hope you're better in the morning, buddy. Love from Zach. All right. Let's switch it up, and let's start getting some expiatory testimonies. Okay. Samira and Hoss and Zeta. I'm just going to call them Hoss, because that's difficult. They were a couple from Iran, and they lost 2 sons. One was lost in a motorcycle accident, and the other one was killed in a knife fight. He just ended up getting into a little bit of a scrap on the street, and the other guy pulled a knife on him and killed him. And boom, they lost 2 sons. The guy that killed him, his name was Bilal, and he went to prison for 7 years until his execution date came. And there's a customary right for the parents who lose a son. They get to choose what they're going to do. So Samira, she was pretty ticked. She'd lived in bitterness and hatred and anger and vengeance for 7 years, waiting for this moment. So finally the moment comes after 7 years in prison. Bilal is now standing on the podium where he's about to be hung. He's got the noose over his head. Everything's about to happen. And all the power right now for whether he lives or dies is in the hands of Samira and Hoss. Samira is so angry and so full of bitterness that she walks up to him in such a rage. She just slaps him in the face while he's got the noose around his neck. She's been waiting for this moment. She's got so much vengeance in her heart. But after she slapped him, instantly she felt the vengeance leave her. She felt all the vengeance leave her, and she heard him begging for forgiveness, and she called her husband up, and then together they evoked their right to choose whether he lived or died, and they took the noose off his neck and let him live. And his mother was right there. She ran up to Samira, and she was just overwhelmed that they had chosen to let their son live. Now that is expiation.